In my last video, I talked about how to pick the best diet and the fact that it really needs to be a lifestyle because it has to be sustainable. And before you even go on a diet, figure out why you're going on it. Is the weight really what's bothering you, or is it a symptom? And if you find, you know what, it's really probably just a symptom, then maybe you struggle with emotional eating, which is something else that I'm super passionate about that I handle in my company. And I've written an entire workbook called Feel Not Food that you can find on Amazon.com or at my website, themonarcheffect.com, that is all about how do you overcome emotional eating. And there are 10 components for success in my book on how to do that. And they're outlined in summary in chapter 1 before then diving deeper in each of the subsequent chapters. And I do provide chapter 1 for free if you subscribe to my website, so that way you could even take a look at it before you even purchase the book. But those 10 components are how you're successful. So I'm going to review them because they're on, just summarized in the back of chapter 1. And I'm going to review those 10 components just to see if this sparks something inside of you that goes, wow, okay, yeah, that's what I need. So the very first component for long-term success is getting yourself in the right mindset. Just like I talked about with dieting, what's sustainable? You need to think forever. This is a lifetime journey. If you are an emotional eater, losing weight doesn't make that go away, which is why when you get off a diet, you regain your weight. Emotional eating is similar to addiction. We are going to have it and it's going to be there. We're simply going to gain control over it, but it doesn't stop. Anytime you think, okay, you know what? I'm going to read this book, I'm going to do this program, and I'm going to be healed, you're going to be disappointed. You are going to be stronger. You are going to be smarter. You are going to be more successful. You are not going to be healed. And that's important, and that's why it's the very first component to long-term success. Component number 2, eat for health and nutrition, not for weight loss. The more you hyper-focus on weight loss, the more you work against yourself because food is then just stuck in your mind all of the time. What can't you eat? What can you eat? Oh my gosh, I'm hungry. Oh, I'm still hungry. Oh my God, I'm starving. I really want some chocolate. So the more you restrict yourself, the more you focus on weight loss, the more hypervigilant you are, and you just drive yourself insane and make it that much tougher. Instead, worry about your health. Worry about your nutrition. And that way, when you're making choices, you can then make really good choices. And when you're not even needing to focus on food, it's not in your mind, because that's not when you have to make a healthy, nutritious choice. And you're not focusing on restriction. You're not focusing on suffering. You're not focusing on every roll and every pound and every fat percentage. Let it go. Your mind is so much stronger than your body, and it works absolutely against you when you become obsessed with it. So, eat for health and nutrition, not for weight loss. That's component 2. Component 3, you've got to enjoy your food. On so many diets, it tries to work so hard to turn food into fuel that it takes away its enjoyment. And the simple fact is, food is enjoyable. It is a huge part of our society. It's not going to go away. And the reason why diets can be so hard to stick with is because they're boring, they're bland, they're not really actually very yummy. So it's hugely important, I want you to choose something that's forever, and I want you to be successful forever, you've got to enjoy it. We don't have to suffer to be successful. Think about that. So enjoy yourself while you're making yourself your healthiest, most attractive person. Okay, number 4, eat mindfully. So that mindless eating where you grab at something and it's not even until you're done eating it that you realize you even started eating it, that is what keeps us overweight. And that's an out of control behavior. And so we need to really teach ourselves methods for becoming more present. And before anything goes in our mouth, even if it's healthy, stop. Is this really what I want to do right now? Should this be going in my mouth? And say yes or no. The answer should not always be no, even if it is something absolutely decadent. That's not the point of mindfulness. The point of mindfulness is to be present and making sure you can feel good about that decision when you're done with it. Okay, number 5, we've got to break the link between negative emotions and food. Every time we label food as bad, it now has power to make us feel badly about ourselves. We've got to break that link. Otherwise, we are constantly going to be battled with guilt and shame over eating something as simple as food. It's just food. We've got to put it in its place. Component number 6, you've got to allow yourself to feel all emotions, the good ones and the bad ones. Sadness creates growth. Anger can create strength and learning. Frustration can build character. We do our greatest growth and learning through some of the toughest stuff, which means we've got to allow ourselves to feel. And if we allow ourselves to feel, we don't have the need to feed. Okay? All right, so number 7, stop giving food importance and power it doesn't deserve. Food does not need to be in the center of every moment of our lives. We need to learn how to celebrate without food. We need to learn how to comfort ourselves without food. We need to learn how to entertain friends without food. We need to learn how to go on a date without food. Food is everywhere, and we use it in so many ways, and it just doesn't need that role. It actually is fuel. It can be enjoyable fuel, but it's fuel. It's not all of these other things. We need to figure out how to do those things without food. Number 8, reduce the stress in your life. And if you can't reduce it, then find healthier, effective ways for dealing for the stress you can't let go of. So the very first thing I'm going to tell you is that some of the stress in your life you're choosing to have in your life, and you need to let it go. And that's not a message many people take very lightly or actually even enjoy hearing. But being kind to you is not going to help you. Being honest is. You've got stresses in your life you're choosing to keep there, and they don't need to be there. Get rid of them. Then figure out the stresses you can't get rid of, you can't delegate, you can't push off, and then figure out how to make those easier. So that way you can focus more time on you. You're probably exhausted. You're probably overwhelmed, and that encourages to turn towards food. So we need to get control of our own lives and our own stress levels so we can stop. Number 9, create a strong support system. Science has proven that if you have a goal you'd like to achieve, a support system is going to greatly enhance your ability to achieve that goal. So look for who is in your life, who has a strong presence in your life, who loves you unconditionally, and who's willing to support you in the way you want them to support you. And that's hugely important. You've got to understand what support looks like for you and then communicate that. Otherwise, you may just simply resent anybody in your support system who tries to convince you not to eat that cookie when you really want to. So it's not only about choosing the best support system, but it's about understanding what support looks like for you, really defining it and communicating it. And then the last component is you've really got to accept that you're not and you are never going to be perfect. People that struggle with weight loss and weight gain and emotional eating are perfectionists and are extremely tough on themselves. And you've got to accept that's just an effort and futility. You are going to feel like a failure forever as long as perfection is your goal. You've got to let it go. You've got to accept yourself for who you are right now, even if you do want to be better. You've got to accept you're going to make mistakes, because I can tell you, you're going to, and you know. You always have. We're human. We're going to make mistakes. And so how are we successful? How do we continue to love ourselves? How do we continue to support ourselves and allow ourselves to feel support from others while we're being imperfect? And we've got to figure that out, because that's where our happiness and contentment are going to come from. So those are the 10 components of success that I write about in my workbook that are also in my Feel Not Food online emotional eating program. You can find out more about both at themonarcheffect.com. But if that resonated with you, if you thought, God, yeah, okay, I could see where that would be helpful, reach out to me. Go to my website. Buy my book. Help yourself. You are the most important person in your life. You control the help that you get. Take that control and help yourself out.